Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Camera Tuesday, we're gonna talk about Sony ZVI. So let's dive right into it. Well, first you have to understand, right now the camera market is shrinking flat out. However, even in this shrinking market, vlogging is taking over and it's quote unquote the next big thing. So every Tom, Dick and Harry wants to do this. What does that mean? That simply means it's a growing market. While every other market is shrinking, this market is growing. So there is a lot of options in the market that can do this. Basically, be it GoPro, be it APSC camera, be it a rig for your mobile phone, be it a full frame camera. There is a lot of options, but none of them have unique sets of requirement. Basically, it's the right now equipment is you can vlog with it, not like it is meant for vlogging with it. Same way, like there is a camera dedicated for high speed shooting, there is a camera dedicated for broadcasting needs, there is a dedicated camera for cinema, but there is no dedicated camera that is like for all normal average Joe Chill kind of guy who wants to do vlogging. Right now there is no such thing, and that's what Sony is aiming for, to actually expand the market reach and make a camera that does one thing and one thing well. So that's the whole core of it. That's why this new lineup was created. Now this is a very critical part. It may look like Sony RX100, it very well may have 100% of the equipments used in RX100, but it's a completely different lineup. RX100 is basically as powerful camera as they can make in a basically small body. This is a vlogging camera with as big of a sensor as they can put inside it. So it's a fixed lens camera, you cannot change the lens, that's the first thing, but it's a very video centric camera. Every aspect of, can you do photography in it? Absolutely. But even on their own website, you will see they will have like one slide talking about photography. Everything else was videography on. It's made for videography. That's the whole point of it. And it has 1-inch sensor that is around 21 megapixel. Now that may not sound that impressive. It's like, okay, 1-inch sensor, why does it matter? Think of it this way. Right now, if you have a good high-end mobile phone, or even like a decent mobile phone, the camera on those puppy, especially in daytime, will basically compete with all these things flat out. You don't have to worry too much about it in daytime. The moment light starts to go down, that's the moment when you realize, okay, this is garbage now. So why? Because in low light you need large sensor surface area to have low light sensitivity, to have actual dynamic range. And you can easily see that, like even compared to, let's say, iPhone Pro Max and all that jazz, compared to like a Sony RX100, you can easily see let's say in a low light area you can see tiles on the ground, and in iPhone it will just look like a blurry mess. And it happens with every single mobile phone because the sensor is small. Computer has a simple rule, garbage in, garbage out. So if the sensor is giving it the garbage, it cannot magically make it better. So to bypass that, you have only one solution: make a bigger sensor. And that's the also problem with GoPro and all that. GoPro can also make a very good capable vlogging camera, but again, sensor is small. So that is the selling point of this. It's a vlogging camera which has 1-inch sensor, so inherently it's uncomparable to basically a mobile phone. Basically it will outsmoke a mobile phone without any question. That's the selling point. Then microphone, ask any Tom, Dick and Harry who does anything with video, they will say, first thing first, focus on the goddamn audio. Make sure audio is actually acceptable, it's bearable. So what are the problem with audio? Well, company never put actual equipment in basically microphone capsule. It's just the cheapest thing they can put, that acts okay, and they're like just go with it. But in this scenario, Sony actually spent time on it, and Sony does have audio experience, so they put actual capsules, microphone capsules in it, and 3 of them, and in a delta pattern. The reason for that is it is actually doing a lot of calculation, lot of calibration, and noise cancellation. Basically it's the same way your mobile phone does. A mobile phone nowadays have 3 microphones to make sure they remove the background noise. This has the same technology, so inherently it's a completely different experience. And they realize the fact that, like, the biggest issue with a microphone, just having a microphone and it's like, things are going around, is the wind noise. Wind noise is painful to hear, and if you are vlogging, there's a good chance you are outdoor, there's a good chance wind is not absolutely static. So they created a basically dead cat to make sure of that, and flat out the results is, it's quite amazing sound. It's not the greatest or it's not the best, but it is good. So that's the reality of it. It's like they put time and effort into the audio aspect also. Then we come to the minor things also. Let's say you are not happy with the audio, it also has microphone input, so to solving that part. Then it has tally light. Now tally light is something what we call lifesaver, so to say, because if you're familiar with broadcast industry, all broadcast camera have a tally light system. What is the use of that? Basically, let's say you have multiple camera setup, how would you know which camera you should focus on? Because all the cameras are on, all the cameras will have cameraman, or if it's a robotic system you will not know. But again, which camera you should focus on, that there will be a giant tally light. So tally light is a system that tells the basically the observer, basically if I'm in front of the lens, I should focus on here. Now in case of vlogging camera, that simply means you will know when the camera is actually recording. Panasonic also put this in SH1 series for this exact reason. So you can actually know, hey, did I click the recording button, did I click, because again these buttons have double press. So basically half press triggers the autofocus and full press triggers the whole system. So you may miss it. It happens to more than enough of us that it's a big deal. So putting a tally light solves that problem, where it's like a giant red light glowing. It's like here, you're like, okay, my camera is actually on, my camera is actually recording. So inherently it's a very good thing. Then we come to the built-in ND filter. The sensor is big. Benefit of that, low light performance. That inherently means your sensor can get oversaturated very quickly. So, and if you put it with a lens that is f1.8, it has a tendency to overexpose in broad daylight. So if you have to do vlogging, which most people do in outdoors, which you can do in broad daylight, you will have a scenario where you're overexposing. So what will your camera do? Your camera will try to reduce the ISO, but again ISO only goes down to 100. So it's not something that you can tone down too much. That's limited. What about shutter speed? That's the something that people don't want to change, because if you change it, the motion blur changes. It goes from like, smooth flowing thing to like jerky robotic thing. So people don't want to do that. How do you solve that? ND filter. It has inbuilt one. Now again, it's 1 slot and 3-stop ND filter, but it's better than nothing, and it's more than good enough. And people must have tested, Sony must have tested it, because it never overexposes. So it's quite awesome. Then it has product exposure, because many people in vlogging, they do look at this thing, focus on this thing. But here's the deal: if autofocus is very good nowadays, like I have recently tried to make a autofocus basically video of my multimeters and all that. Problem was camera was always focusing on me, not on the multimeter, and you have to do like this, put your equipment faces directly on top of the lens to make sure that everything is covered. Only then the camera will focus on that. That's very painful. So they realized that Sony realized there is a big market for that. So they did what we call product showcase. So if you are in product showcase mode, it will always focus on your face, but the moment you put something in front, and it will know, hey bro, I should focus on the face, should not focus on the face, it will know that and it will do that. And everybody who use that in hands-on demo, real world experience and all that, everybody is loving it. So basically product photographers, they are like, yep, I'm done, I'm just buying this flat out, just for that reason itself. And another aspect, when you are walking outside, there is a good chance shadows can happen, clouds can happen, tree shadow can happen. So what does that mean? That means your exposure changes way too much. For your camera auto exposure, it will not know what to focus on. Sony solved this also. Now because they have eye autofocus, that means inherently they know where your face is. So the spot meter that is used for exposure, it's directly locked onto your face. So it will always make sure your face is properly exposed, which is quite amazing. And then it has one weird feature, which I do not know whether, I'm reasonably sure they must have seen a lot of people in India using this: beautify the skin. Basically, it will take your skin and apply Vaseline on it. It's quite weird, but again, Vivo in India is very successful because of that. They just take your skin and just black, and people love it for some reason. But again, if you like it, it has that option. Like if you have a lot of pimples in your skin, you don't want to appear real people, yeah, Vaseline. So what is the good aspect of it? Well, because Sony started from day one, it's a one equipment that I'm gonna make for one specific task. It is truly small and truly compact. Basically, it's so good that it classifies as EDC, aka everyday carry. Basically, you can have this camera in your pocket, you set, you done, you good, everything is more than good enough. Flat out, you can compete with like a DSLR with a flip out screen with giant micro. Like it's not that good, but it's almost comparable to that, and it will destroy any GoPro, any mobile phone flat out. And you can carry it in your pocket without this, like every Tom, Dick and Harry will notice what the hell that guy is doing. So it is quite amazing. Like the fact that they managed to make a camera that does what a video camera should do, does what a vlogger would need it to do, does all that while remaining pocketable. Basically, it's something you can put inside your pocket, because lens capsule collapses inside, so you can put it in your pocket and be done with it. And if you have a backpack, you can buy a basically Sony made tripod itself, and this will remote handle will allow you to do multiple things. Basically trigger, record, on off with a handle without touching the main camera, zoom in and out, all those things. Quite amazing. Like inherently, it's like somebody sat down and thought about it. And another aspect with, let's say, if you want to do this with Sony A100 series cameras, basically let's say A6100, problem is A6100, A6600, A6400, all those cameras have horrible rolling shutter. Again, the sensor is huge physically, but it has rolling shutter. So your hand will go, instead of going like this, it will go, So for this reason, people don't like those camera for that much. But Sony fixed that. Like in this one instance, it's surprisingly low. Like it's not zero, you cannot have that unless you use a global shutter, but it's surprisingly low. So you will not have that, hey, I'm zooming in and out and like, you know, my cars are looking, it will not happen. So it's quite amazing on that. And product focus alone, every Tom, Dick and Harry who has to do product focus, they're like, yep, I'm buying this, done, game over. And great add-ons like dead cat. The fact that dead cat is so important, Sony realized it comes in the box, unless they remove it in the future versions, but right now it comes inside the box. Quite amazing. Shooting grip, again, it is not a, like, you know, dedicatedly made for this model, but it is supported and it connects over Bluetooth, so you do not have to worry about, like, you know, cable and all that. It's quite amazing. Like somebody spent some time to build this, and it shows flat out. It shows us like quite amazing everyday carry. Basically, put this in your pocket and go, done, game over. Now, if it's that amazing, is there any bad side? Well, yes. And if you watch hundreds of video about this, the one bounding thread that happens in all of them, it's like the freaking lens is not good for vlogging. Lens is not wide enough. So if you do the basically hands length, basically one arm length distance, the lens will focus so much on you. Basically, your head will cover the most of the sensor, most of the frame would be covered. So side effect of that, that's not vlogging. People want to see your surroundings, otherwise what's the point of vlogging? You could be just sitting in front of a green screen, it will not make a difference. So not having wide enough lens and inherently limits it. Like even people who buy DSLR and all that, they can select lenses. They can be like, hey, 24mm is not good enough for me, I'm gonna buy 15 to 18mm lenses just for that. People do that, it works, it's quite amazing. But this, you are limited with what they give you, and what they give is not good enough for vlogging. And that is quite weird for people. It's like, dude, how the heck Sony went down so detailed, like every single option, and nobody's like, hey, let's actually see how does it look in arm's length, the common vlogging lens. So everybody who wants to use this camera, they have to have a tripod that extends it to around 1 foot extra, and then you will be like, yeah, I'm walking like this, and then I was like, yeah, enough of the background would be there, so you can actually understand what the hell is going on. And you can see Jared Polony is really pissed off by that part, because again, his hair is huge, so it's like literally he's clipping the top and bottom. So inherently, that's the biggest flaw of this system. This camera is like so close to perfect vlogging camera that it's quite odd for people. Like the first thing Sony should have done is like, hey, let's figure out the lens first, because if lens does not work, everything else falls apart. This exactly happened. Many people are like, yeah, I would love this camera, but it's too tight, I'm done. That's the whole point. Inherently, one flaw limited it. There is a good chance when they make the second version, they may make it wider if enough people complain about it, but let's see. And the pricing aspect, now again, I'm talking from Indian audience point of view, but again, even in US, it's ludicrously expensive. $800 for something that is Sony's already making, let's say RS 500 RX 100 series, and with plastic body and everything cheaped out, is still 800 is too much. And then you might be like, okay, 750 right now, but again, that's a temporary price. So why the price sounds too much? Because you can get 2 times surface area in a sensor if you buy a Sony A6100 with a proper lens, and you can choose the lens. You can buy an ultra wide lens for that, or a pancake lens, so you will have that, like, you know, compact thing available to you. It will have higher quality on a cheaper price. That should not happen. And again, nobody will even think about it if the lens was vlogging specific. Now, because you have to think about lens, people are like, yep, it would be better if I just did this. And again, you will get all the benefit of that, but again, it does not have sound, basically sound capsule built into it, so you have to have an external mic or a GoPro and all. GoPro, I'm saying Rode Go mic. And again, flip up screen has the issues, but again, everything else, if video quality matters to you, if it's like, if you're that kind of rich guy, is like, I buy this, I'm gonna use this, and I'm gonna throw it away in 1 year or 2 years, it's more than good enough. If you're like, once in a while I do this, it's more than good enough. But if you truly do this as in like a living, and you really want to push your quality, you have to go into APS-C system. And not to mention, given the fact that it's cheaper and you have much larger lens selections for much higher you know, sharpness, quality, color and all that, the $800 point is like, yeah, that's a bit difficult to sell. And it does not have even USB-C. That's another pain point for people. It's like, dude, if you're a vlogger, you have a mobile phone. Most mobile phone nowadays comes with USB-C. So if they put A6100 and they don't have micro B, people will deal with it, because again, it's an old camera. But this is supposed to be a vlogging camera. So having USB-C means you can charge this. Basically, you can use the same cable for charging your mobile phone, and this. Not having that is fundamentally frustrating. And given the fact that it's microbit, that means it's USB 2.0. What does that mean? That means Sony is gonna release a webcam camera software, basically, which will make it into a webcam. It could be quite awesome for that, but because it's a USB 2.0, you inherently know it would be limited. Same way Canon has done that, like recently released a application that makes old camera into a webcam. The cameras that have USB 2.0, they do not work very well on that. Like they are limited to like a weird resolution. They do not even do full HD. That's the reason, because USB 2.0 is the limitation. So bypassing that limitation requires USB 3.0. You could have USB-C, and that you would have solved like two problems with one stone. So that's a like weird thing. Like you know, vlogging people don't want to carry hundreds of equipment. Why the heck you are forcing people to carry another cable? And f1.8 sounds amazing, but it's only first 2-3 millimeters. It's f1.8. The moment you zoom in even a little bit, it will drop to f2.8. It will not go like, okay, f1.8, f2, and f2.4, and then f2.8. No, it's like f1.8, 1, 2, 3, done. It goes to f2.8. So basically the lens is f2.8, and just to for market hype, they made the aperture on the ultra wide and basically the full max setting bit brighter. Is it good? Yes, but again, same problem, because of the cost, because of the fact that the wide angle is not wide enough for vlogging. It would have become a perfect camera. You have to think about those lenses and all that. The moment you think about those, you're like, dude, I can buy A60 100 and have all that features. Like you may say, hey, I'm not gonna get that, like vlog and all that. Again, a better lens is much more important than vlogs and all that. And again, better low light performance, better sharpness, and you can get a like A60 400, which is still in the same price. If you get in discount, it will cost the same with lens. So all these things collide down to is that they had one flaw. If they had fixed that flaw, done, priceless, awesome, amazing. Everything else falls apart simply because of the lens problem. It's like lens is not wide enough. From Potato Jet to Jared Poland to basically Camera Conspiracy, every Tom, Dick and Harry is talking about the same thing. It's like, bro, it's not wide enough. So this was my presentation on Sony's new lineup. Hope you liked it, learn from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I'd urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me extra disappointment. Please leave a comment because I try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.